Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Hansel and Gretel, a Korean horror film from 2007. The film opens with a young man by the name of Eun-soo, a salesman, who's driving his car on a road in a woodland area. He's on the phone with his wife and they're having an argument. Due to this distraction, he crashes his car and blacks out. After he wakes up, it's nighttime, but fortunately, a young girl with a very bright lantern finds him and guides him to her home. She lives with her brother, little sister, and two parents. However, every time Eun-soo attempts to leave the forest to go back home, he mysteriously has no way out and is forced to return to the children's residence. Needless to say, something very odd is going on around here. Now, most of the online reviews I've read or watched have given too much away in terms of plotting, in my opinion, so I'm not going to say much more in that regard. I will say this, though. This movie does rely heavily on one primary conflict and scenario, and it pulls it off quite nicely with a well-written script, well-developed characters, and a surprisingly touching storyline. Now, some of the themes here have been seen elsewhere, but the way in which they're presented feels a little bit different. You know, this definitely has like a fairy tale vibe to it, as the title Hansel and Gretel implies, but the story is actually very different from that particular fairy tale, despite incorporating many references to it. And some of these references mirror the original story, while others turn the fairy tale on its head. So it's very interesting because of this. Another cool thing about Hansel and Gretel is that it nicely avoids most of the dumb decision-making that we see in many films in general, but specifically horror movies and thrillers. And this is because our protagonist simply cannot escape the forest through conventional means, which forces him to kind of think his way out of the situation. So it's not like he could just call the police or call somebody to pick him up or stuff like that. So that was nice as well, because you're not thinking like of plot holes as you're watching the film. Now, the director here is Pil-sung, who has directed Antarctic Journal, Scarlet Innocence, and portions of Doomsday Book. And his career has kind of petered out in recent years, but I will say that the stylization of Hansel and Gretel is amongst the best that South Korea had to offer during the 2000s, and that's saying something. So the opening credits have like a black and white series of drawings depicting the original fairy tale, and one of the things that pops out immediately when watching this movie are the set designs, which are really good. There's quite a bit of eye candy in this. You get a lot of Christmas visuals that run rampant throughout much of the first half, and this includes like a Christmas tree, all kinds of decorations, toys and dolls, interior design, etc. The kids wear like fluffy slippers and eat lots of like cookies and baked goods. It gets you right into the holiday mood, and it's very impressive. The house is mostly brightly lit, and some yellow lighting is used quite a bit. The winter season of the year is showcased, I would say late autumn, winter, and that conveys a chilly mood. And there's a section of the movie in the middle with lots of snowfall. So again, like the stylization in this is very like seasonal and holiday themed, and it's pretty top notch. The second half, it switches it up a little bit with more flashbacks and things like that, but it's a lot of atmosphere here. In terms of scares, this is not excessively violent or gory at all. I think most people will be able to sit through this. There are some macabre images of dead bodies that incorporate creative elements, which I will not spoil. Now, since this has little kids in it, some of the events are more intense because of that. You know, these kids do become traumatized by the situation, and there are some instances of physical abuse against them as well. But this has just enough intensity to it without going overboard, I think. And the ending to the movie is both dramatic and emotional and very effective. So, I mean, I enjoy Hansel and Gretel very much, and it held up very nicely during my recent viewing. I definitely recommend this. Currently available streaming on YouTube and Tubi, and you can also get it on Blu-ray. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.